Revelations, it talks about the root of David, and then Isaiah, it talks about the stump of Jesse, and this is for the Messiah, or the Son of Man, and this means that it is in the bloodline of King David, or Jesse, the father of King David. And so we mentioned a time in the Bible study I talked about Michal, the daughter of King Saul before David. They did not have a child together, so it wouldn't be a child of her. But there is, in 2 Samuel, this is another example. 2 Samuel 14:25. Now in all Israel there was no one so much to be praised for his handsome appearance as Absalom. For the sole of his foot, from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. And when he cut his hair of his head, for at the end of every year he used to cut it when it was too heavy for him, he cut it. He weighed the hair of his head 200 shekels by the king's weight. There were born to Absalom 3 sons and 1 daughter whose name was Tamar. She was a beautiful woman. So there are more children there from King David to Absalom. And then Absalom, if you haven't heard the story, actually is killed by King David's soldiers, because after King David takes the kingdom from Saul, after Saul is dead, he doesn't actually take it from him. He waits for Saul to die and says that God appointed him, so he will wait for him to die. The Philistines kill Saul, and then now Absalom decides he's going to take over the kingdom, and there's Absalom's conspiracy where he says, wouldn't it be great if I were judge and I were to make all the decisions whenever somebody had a dispute, and they could just come to me, and let's start organizing that as Absalom's conspiracy. And then he wages war against King David, and King David actually has to flee Jerusalem after Absalom's conspiracy, and then Absalom is killed, and his hair gets stuck in a tree. He is stabbed by King David's soldiers, and they actually leave King David at home and tell him, we're leaving you, you're not gonna be part of this. And they come back and tell him that they killed his son, and he says that he wishes it was him instead of his son. And then King Solomon takes over. So then we all know about King Solomon. King Solomon was supposedly the most wisest king, and he took over after King David and set up the palace that King David was setting up for everybody. And he had all the lists of bowls and incense things and plates and forks and knives and everything that David had made out of gold and silver, and how many there were supposed to be, and all the people that did all the music and everything. And then they ushered in the presence of the Lord into the temple palace, and that was how the city of Jerusalem became associated with a god. So then there was a god that lived in the city of Jerusalem, is what was said after that. And King Solomon is the one who established that. And Solomon is brother to Absalom. King Solomon and Absalom are brothers. So now this gets more into how King Jesus is considered a king, and that would be through the bloodline of David and Jesse, and the Messiah, according to Isaiah and Revelations, is supposed to be through this bloodline. And this is the Holy Grail. That's what the Holy Grail is the bloodline of King David and Jesus. And that's just what is in the Bible, and there is a lot to it, because this was a bloodline that Rome, when Jesus came to Rome, they said to Jesus, that was a long time ago, Jesus, we have new bloodlines. And they killed Jesus, and weren't concerned about his bloodline. And supposedly Pontius Pilate put above his head, King of the Jews, put a crown on his head. The Romans kind of made it a joke, but they seemed to know what was going on. It's not like I'm just making this up. It's right there in the execution and the crucifixion. They seem to know he was a king. And the Son of Man, when he returns, because Jesus never said he was coming back. Jesus said the Son of Man would come on the clouds, and that this was basically his return, is how it goes. And the Son of Man is also in Revelations, and all of this is from the line of David, and there are various possibilities of how someone could come from Jesse or David. So that's not necessarily one blood. I mean, it's not necessarily like the Solomonic dynasty, and we don't know if the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia was actually from King Solomon, but it was claimed to be, and was fairly old. It wasn't as old as it should be to validate a claim like that automatically, but the Solomonic dynasty is an example, and there are other people out there, and there are probably people out there that are descendants of King Tut or King Tut's relatives, and all of that. There are nobles in other countries where it's the cousin or the brother of the king, and they lived in another country where they weren't a king or a prince or anything, but maybe they had kind of a prince status or a noble status, and that was going on all over the world. Still today, even. There are royals living in America and Canada. Then, the bloodline of David and Jesse is an example of just what the Bible is saying to look for and everything. And I think we can start to do that with DNA. We can start to put all of that together and figure out exactly what's going on, because we are now also being revealed the Nephilim and the angels, how all of this works, mtDNA, reincarnation. It's all coming together, and the Watchers and Giants, there's actually things that exist. Our flesh bodies don't exist. We are kind of imaginary. That's what you could call it. We're like imaginary, and there's actually things that we call imaginary that actually exist, and they continue on after we die in each of the flesh bodies, and we only are here for a moment. So that's how angels and things work, and the bloodlines. The way humans see it is so-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so. The way it actually works is A plus B equals C, C plus D equals E, E plus F equals this, F plus G sometimes equals A. And that's how it works.